Mel, everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Hey everyone, Cantonese Cat here. Gonna go through the market. It's Friday, market's closed. Let's talk about it. Did we have a bearish engulfing candle last month in April? Yes. Does it mean that price is gonna keep going down further? Not necessarily. I'll show you why. Like usually these monthly bullish, bearish engulfing candle, it doesn't always necessarily have to work out, especially when it's not a bear market, especially if it's a bull market. Sometimes it's just necessary to kind of cool down a little bit, and that's just the morphology that it has, right? When was the last time you had a bearish engulfing candle right here? Did it work out? No. I mean, you actually just kept going up higher from there, right? The time before that, you're going to have like a lot of bearish engulfing candles over here during the bear market. Of course, it's going to work out because it's a bear market. So the time before that, bearish engulfing candle didn't work out. So there are a lot of these different examples that tells me I don't think it's necessarily going to end up just going down from here. A lot of people think that just because we had these 3 months straight down, it's going to have another 3 months straight down. A lot of people are talking about like sell in May. I don't know. It's just a lot of counter trading signal that I'm hearing from like CNBC from everybody. It's not that simple. And another couple of things I also want to point out. I want to pull up something called the Super Ichi Cloud, which is the modification of Ichimoku Cloud, taking into account of the super trend. Generally what happens during a bull market is this. It uses the Tenkan, the blue line over here, to serve as support to go up higher, and as price go up higher, it also drags the Tenkan along with it to go higher. Tenkan is also called a conversion line in Ichimoku Cloud analysis. So right now, basically, for the month of March, we just kind of went way too far, way too fast away from the Super Ichi Tenkan. And what ends up happening, you just basically just came back down, touch it, kind of getting close over here. Almost start using this as a support to kind of, go a lot higher from there, right? And you can see what happened to the times before that over here. It just got way far extended over from the Tenkan back in July 2023. Everybody got super bullish. Nah, too far, too fast. Gonna come back down, come back test the Tenkan, found support, went up after that. All right, the bull market before that, too far from the Tenkan, sideways, downwards. Too far from the Tenkan, sideways, right? Too far from the Tenkan, drop back down. Same thing throughout the entire bull market. From in the past, it usually rides up along with the Tenkan along with it, right? So I think for the month of March, we just got a little bit way too far extended, and it's just needed to cool down, and that's exactly what it is. Just kind of come back down here. No big deal so far. The other thing to kind of show you, in addition to that, let's look at the bull market support band. Bull market support band is generally look at it on a weekly basis, but you can also put it on a monthly chart. Is a bull market support band is a band that supports a bull market, and it just supported the bull market right here. Can it break down temporarily? Sure. If it ends up breaking down, but it's still a bull market, it's not going to serve as very strong resistance. Right now, we just write as support, so there's another confluence over here for you to think about. If you look at the Black Cat L3 Banker Fund Flow Trend Oscillator, that also tells you a very clear story. You still have continued well inflow, even though it's kind of cooled down a little bit, but net is still inflow, right? Based on the oscillator that is showing you over here. So this is still most likely going to be an ongoing bull market. Like look at all these previous time, we have a little bit of like a cool down over here, and you have maybe a little bit of, net even well inflow. Next thing you know, it just kept going on for like a year and a half, right? I still think that we're not there yet. And also looking at the monthly Bollinger Band, got a little bit overextended over here for February and March on the monthly, and it's simply just cooling down for a couple of months. No big deal. 20-month moving average is still straightly, significantly pointing up, and it just switched trend over here from being bearish, from pointing down to pointing up, right around the pivot over here in October 2023. So a lot of things are really kind of pointing towards a bullish direction here. Now, I keep talking about the fact that we might bottom. What is the downside? The downside that I see is going to be not with the Super Ichi Cloud, not with the Bollinger Band, not the Bullish Market Support Band, but it's really the regular Ichimoku Cloud. We are a little bit too far extended from the Tenkan on the regular Ichimoku Cloud. And generally, I like to see it getting a little bit closer. I like to see the Tenkan kind of push up. I don't think the Tenkan is going to end up pushing up for another couple of months, right? But it doesn't have to. Over here, it did get a little bit way too far, way too fast. It didn't end up just going down, and it just kind of go up from here after cooling down over here, even though it's pretty far from the Tenkan. And it just kind of kept going up over here for about a year and a half and dragged Tenkan along with it, right? Eventually, the trend got exhausted and broke down, but whatever. The other bull market, you also see you can have a significant period of time where it just doesn't touch Tenkan for like over a year. And but generally in the bull market, you want to use Tenkan to kind of push it higher. So the downside in terms of what I think right now for the Tenkan right now is around like 467, somewhere around there. So that's the downside. Is that going to hit that? Not necessarily. A couple other things I want to show you too in terms of the other parts of the market. Let's look at the QQQ, which is the NASDAQ fund. You can see a very similar phenomenon. The price got to get a little bit way too far, way too fast away from the Tenkan. Just kind of got a little bit closer to it, but it doesn't always necessarily have to touch it. There are history of time where it just doesn't do that for a very long time. That doesn't really bother me that much. But a couple of indicators I think has bottom. One is you look at Ichimoku Cloud, it back tested the Tenkan almost perfectly, and you can see throughout history it's just used either the Kenken, sometimes it just back tested the Kijin underneath of it, which is the orange line over here. But most of the time you just basically back test the Tenken, which is the blue line, and you find support and you just keep going up. Right now we did exactly that. So as far as I'm concerned, there's no need for it to go down further, although it could, right? If it goes down further, how much further is it going to go down? It could go down to maybe around like 390s, high 390s or so. But I don't think it's necessarily going to happen. It's not overextended on the Bollinger Band. 20-month moving average is still pointing up very significantly. It just started happening, over a few months ago. When you have a trend change like that, it can, or reacceleration of the 20-month moving average to go up, it can go up for a very, very long time. It can go up for like a couple of years, 2, 3, maybe even 4 years when it happens, right? I think we just recently have a trend change over here. I think it might end up going up for a very long time. So there are a few things here. One other thing I want to show too that I found to be very, very striking is if you look at the 2-day Ichimoku Cloud. I'm going to take off some of these like Tenkan and Kijin conversion baseline here for just a second. You look at the 2-day Ichimoku Cloud. For some reason, NASDAQ or QQQ is just very, very much respecting this 2-day Ichimoku Cloud pretty strongly. I don't know why. Like, it just serves as almost like a very key resistance and support zone. Right now it's just been bouncing the cloud and just keep going up on the cloud. Over here, it broke down inside the cloud, back testable on the cloud, and just flew, right? And then like over here, it's kind of back tested the clouds here. It kind of served as resistance. Here it kind of served as resistance over here during the entire bear market. And then the bull market support, the bull market before that, it really is serving as support to kind of balance the price up higher. Over here, you thought if the correction was done, nope, going up there and touching the cloud over here, or get closer to the cloud over there. And you can see the example of this like 2-day Ichimoku Cloud just serving as really good support over the years, like over the decade. And now we're just bouncing on the top of the cloud. There's no sign that it's breaking down quite just yet. So far it's looking pretty decent here. I think we might be finding pretty decent support. But again, if you want to talk to me about downside, always look at a monthly chart, always look at the Ichimoku Cloud. And you can see that the Tenkan is going to be your potential downside. Does it have to hit that? No, right? If you wait for it to hit that, you might potentially miss gains. That's also a risk. But that's something to kind of look into. The other chart here, one that I really want to talk a lot more about is the IWM, right, which is the Russell 2000. A lot of people got scared by this bearish engulfing candle over here. Again, I just told you, like, bearish engulfing candle for bull market is not necessarily ornaments. I just don't see that. Like, so a lot of times these bearish engulfing candle at the beginning of a potential bull market it's not a scary thing, right? So another thing, if you look at the weekly, everybody's gonna get scared about the 3, black crows over here. It's gonna have further downwards, potential down, but I don't know. I mean, like these things are almost like, how do you say that? These things are almost like common knowledge or conventional, wisdom. But is it necessarily true? Not necessarily, right? A few things are telling me I think the correction of IWM is over. I think we're really starting to have a bull trend here, and at the beginning of the bull trend is always going to be volatile. The beginning of bull trend is always going to be volatile. They're going to try to shake you out before they go up. That's just how it works, right? At the beginning of bull trend, it's going to be super volatile, right? At the beginning of bull trend, it's going to be super volatile, right? Over here, can you imagine? You think it's going to go up, and it just next thing you know, it went down and just canceled like a whole quarter of price action. In the beginning of the bull market, it's always going to be volatile, right? Until it isn't. there are a couple of indicators here that shows me, you know, if you look at the Ichimoku cloud, I'm not even talking about the Super Ichi cloud, I'm talking about the Ichimoku cloud. It got close to a Tenkan cross with Kijun over here. Bullish cross, right? Bullish cross over here, what happened last time we had bullish cross over here? Within about a month or two, went way up, right? And what happened with the bullish cross over here? Well, you know, you had a little bit of a bullish cross over here, but then COVID happened. You know, that was a black swan event. It didn't last long though, right? It just went way up. What about time before that when you have a bullish cross and went up over here for years, right? It then happened really within about a month or two. Last time, bullish cross went up very, very fast, right? Another thing too, in addition to the bullish cross, you also see like how it bounced from the top of the cloud. When it bounced from the top of the cloud, generally this is an indicator that within like a month or two, it's probably going to go up a lot higher, right? Bounce from the cloud over here, right? Bounce from the cloud over here, twice actually, came to the bottom of the cloud, went back up, bounce, up again, bounce again the second time, right? Bounce from the top of the cloud, went up like crazy. Bounce from the top of the cloud, went up like crazy. Bounce from the top of the cloud, went up like crazy. These are economic cycles. There's always going to be some overextension in terms of money printing, and sometimes they just have to kind of cool it down a little bit. These are economic cycles. They generally last for about 3 or 4 years. After the great financial crisis, it happened after the Fed and the U.S. government and the U.S. Treasury basically just says that banks will not fail. Big banks will not fail. Don't worry about it. Go risk on. It went risk on for a decade and a half with economic cycles. It's what I'm seeing. I'm not saying what I'm seeing is absolutely correct, but it's just what I'm seeing. Super Ichi Cloud. What is the Super Ichi Cloud doing? Super Ichi Cloud, right now, we still haven't had the bullish cross yet. But Super Ichi Cloud generally lacks a little bit on the Tenkan Kijun cross. So not too concerned about it. We're kind of stuck inside a cloud. We're trying to break out above. What happened when you're trying to stuck in a cloud and trying to break back above? Crazy things happen, right? And then next thing you know, have a bullish cross later, stuck in the cloud, break above the cloud, crazy things happen, right? So you're really talking about a few economic cycles that's kind of showing you the same things here. Bollinger Band is also going to be very, very clear. Whenever you have a little bit of a sideways or downward trending on the 20-month moving average, followed by an uptrend, followed by a trend change, this can go on for quite some time. Right over here, it went on for like a year and a half after this change right here. Over here, after this change right here, went up for like 2.5 years, right? Over here, after a trend change from being flat and going up again, happened for about 3 years. So these economic cycles generally is how it works. We have great deleveraging that already happened for quite some time. Really, a lot of people who wanted to sell already have sold. Right now, we have a new bull trend that is starting to develop. So I'm pretty positive in terms of what I'm seeing here. Now, you take up that alone, and you also look at the black hat fund flow. You also see that you have increased fund flow that's been going exponentially for months and months. It probably just kind of went sideways for months and months. Exponential fund flow for sideways with price, exponential increase in wealth funds sideways in price. So these are some very, very big bullish setup that's going to happen whenever this consolidation over here is over, right? Consolidation over here, increased wealth fund flow, it might push up a lot higher soon. I'm seeing some pretty positive developments over here so far, and just wanted to share with you about it. One other thing too I wanted to look at was, one other thing I want to look at, let me see if I can pull it up here, is the wave trend oscillator. The wave trend oscillator is showing you this. Let's look at it weekly. You think that it's going to go back all the way down to the bottom just like it's been doing over the last 2 years? Not necessarily. If this is really a true start of the bull market, which I think it is, for a bull market, actually the oscillator can stay about zero for years while it's going up. It can stay about zero for years while it's going up, right? I think there's a possibility where we're kind of getting a little bit closer to zero over here, and it's already maybe starting to kind of do a little bit of a trend reversal. I think we might end up doing that potentially for quite some time if this is truly the beginning of a bull trend. Just look at a weekly trend oscillator that can give you a little bit more, better clue in terms of what it might do. ARK Fund. What is ARK Fund doing? ARK Fund, a lot of people might look at it and say, oh, head and shoulder pattern. That's not how it works, because I think it's not a good way to look at things. The reason why is you can very well look at the NASDAQ, the NDX, and you can very well call this whole thing right here a head and shoulder pattern. And it's just going to keep going down, head and shoulder. It's going to keep going down, right? Sure, here, head and shoulder went down. Great, congratulations. But how many head and shoulders failure do you have to have before you get one, right? The dot-com bubble, a giant head and shoulder. Did it keep going down to like 500? No. It kept going up because global liquidity goes up. And eventually you're going to have money that's being flowed into these speculative stuff. There's already been a lot of deleveraging that has already happened when it comes to these kinds of speculative stocks for ARK fund. I'm not sure necessarily this, head and shoulder is necessarily going to work out. Like, as a matter of fact, I don't think so. The reason why is because it's been making, these higher lows, higher highs, higher high, higher low, higher high, and it's been trying to put in like a little bit of a higher low potentially before bullish continuation. A couple of things I want to show you in terms of why I'm bullish on ARK. The whole idea is, it's basically looking like a big giant bull flag over here. Right now the flag's a little bit bigger than a pole. I can't really call it that anymore, but it's just been consolidating sideways for about 6 months. But what the important thing that's happened is it seems like it has flipped the Tenkan, which is the blue line over here, from resistance over back to support, finally, right? It did go down a little bit here for the month of April, but right now we're back above it right now. The Kijun is slowly coming down. I do think that most likely sometime around early to mid, sorry, I should say, just going to say mid 2024 to maybe late 2024, you might end up getting a bullish cross to confirm that you have starting to have a bullish trend with higher highs and higher lows overall to kind of get things going. And I think it is possible for around 2025 for it to potentially challenge the top of the cloud around the 60s. That's kind of my speculation. Obviously, I'm only saying that because so far over the last year and a half, it's looking like it's more bull trend than it's a bear trend. And the indicators also supporting that, speculation as well. If you look at the 20-month moving average, it's also been pointing up for about a whole half a year. And the Bollinger Band has been squeezing a little bit and kind of getting ready for the next move. Last time I see trend kind of flatten, kind of go up like that was really here around like 2016 or so. And that move right there was precipitating a big giant move up that kept it going for like 2 years with additional consolidation, and obviously everybody knew about this one over there, right? So I think we might be, I don't think we're going to end up having anything like this, but we might be a little bit of a slower kind of climb up over time. We'll see what happens, but this is a pretty positive development here. And if you also look at the Black Cat fund flow, which tells you more about inflow and outflow. Something drastically has happened. Price went sideways and even downwards a little bit over the last half a year, and the wealth fund flow indicator just kept going up. This is a big discrepancy here in terms of this and that, right? So price consolidation, wealth fund up. Wealth flow inflow is going up. So most likely what ends up happening, I think price is probably going to end up pushing up higher, but it just needs time. Sometimes it just needs some time to kind of consolidate and do what it needs to do before continue to go up higher. If you go back to the Ichimoku cloud, I do want to kind of look at different time frames to tell you what I'm looking at. This is the monthly time frame, right? You can see it's trying to reclaim the Tenkan. If you look at the 2-week, what it's doing right now is broke inside the 2-week Ichimoku cloud, tested the bottom of it, bounced down a little bit, and it's trying to find a little bit of support. It might get to the bottom of the cloud here around 41 or so, maybe not. But generally, once it enters a cloud and it tests the bottom like that, the magnet's usually a little bit higher, maybe towards the top of the cloud, somewhere maybe around the 60s over here, maybe towards 2025, right? If you also look at the weekly cloud also tells you something very, very interesting tale here, is that it broke through the cloud over here, actually on very decent volume, and it's just doing these back tests over here, 1 and 2. And it's founding some decent solid grounding over here close to the top of the cloud, and it could end up going up a lot higher. Now, this is the Ichimoku cloud. What happens with the Super Ichi cloud? Super Ichi cloud is also telling you some very similar tale here too. Price broke inside the cloud. It's just been bouncing around the cloud. It's right now it's trying to build up a bunch of energy, potentially push up about this thin area of the cloud over here. Because once the cloud gets thinner, the resistance is generally not very strong, right? If you look at the 2-week chart, it initially bounced from the bottom of the cloud and bounced out of the cloud, but this week we end up pushing right back in, right? It's kind of doing what it needs to do to kind of back test. Once you fall out of a support zone, generally you want another candle or two to kind of confirm. So far, there's no confirmation of breakdown. Anything, probably just kind of break back above, right? If anything, here on the 2-week chart, you might start to get a little bit of a bullish Tenkan Kijun cross over here. Mel, I know. I'll feed you later. Okay, so this is the Tenkan Kijun cross that's about to happen on the 2-week, which is very fascinating. If you look at the monthly, it's the same thing with the Super Ichi cloud and the regular Ichimoku cloud, where it's just basically trying to claim the Tenkan as support, which is exactly what it's doing right now. So there are a few things here that are pretty positive for is price action. And I was talking about the VIX as well. And on Twitter, formerly known as Twitter, on X, I was talking about how on the monthly, it really looks like we're hitting some pretty strong resistance. I mean, the 21 moving average is just crawling down like crazy. It could potentially serve as continued resistance moving forward here on the monthly. On the weekly, what it's been doing over the last 4 kind of, pullback over here on the stock market is that the VIX went all the way up above the upper Bollinger Band for about 3 to 5 weeks and just got slammed down, and it just kept on going down, right? So I was pointing out here a couple of weeks ago when things looked pretty bearish. I was like, yeah, this VIX, the VIX is way outside upper Bollinger Band. I think it's probably gonna get slammed down here. Sure enough, got slammed down, right? Can it actually find a support over here? This horizontal zone, possibly. But right now, I mean, you got a VIX at 13.4. I mean, this is still a low volatility environment. We'll see what happens, but I kind of expected this to happen. I just have a hard time kind of figure out what's going to happen next. Is this going to be the same thing where it kind of closed the week below and it's just going to keep on going down, even though the 20-week movement is pointing up? Maybe if we're in another cup over here until next time it breaks back up again for any kind of potential correction, right? So that's kind of what I'm seeing on the VIX. On oil, you want to talk about macroeconomics. On oil, monthly actually looks quite weak. It looks like it has a shooting star candle top over here. If you're not familiar with that, usually these shooting star candles are considered to be bearish if it's on the top. Generally, these are very toppy type candle, and you do have the 20-month moving average kind of changing trend to become more bearish. Over here, it does start to kind of flatten over here, and it starts to squeeze over here. It does get a little bit scary because I don't know which way it's going to squeeze. Is it going to squeeze up or is it going to squeeze down? I don't know based on looking at the Bollinger Band. The fact that it's closing, well, not closing, the fact that the month of May is having this kind of being below is more favorable, but it's still 50-50 just looking at the Bollinger Band. So let's look at something else. Let's look at, let's say, the monthly Ichimoku cloud. What you're seeing here is actually a favorable development if you don't want inflation to go up, is that the price of oil based on WTI, crude oil, has dropped back inside the Ichimoku cloud. Whenever it's been above the cloud and whenever it's trying to enter the cloud, there's a potential it might bounce around the cloud for a little bit, but overall it's signifying weakness and it could potentially drop underneath of it, right? Or at least to test the potentially the bottom of it, get around the 60s or so. It only has been a few days and it's already gotten back inside the cloud. So this is a favorable development. Another favorable development is that right now it looks like it's flipping the Tenkan, from during this bull market for oil as support to resistance, right? Trying to break above, failed to hold, and now is really trying to, use that as a resistance. So you're facing a lot of resistance here. You have a bearish cross over here about a year ago. So you're facing a lot of these resistance over here. I think oil overall, by looking at this, I think is getting weaker and weaker based on just looking at this. Now, you're looking at the 2-week. It's actually going to give you a very, very nice picture here to show you that it turned the cloud from support to resistance, right? You got rejected from the top of the cloud, now you got rejected from the bottom of the cloud. When you see support turn into resistance, generally is signifying, potentially bearish price action that could come, right? Here you do have a double bottom, but you have to take into the greater trend and how it looks in terms of other indicators too, right? Because if you also look here, it also looks like a double top. Like it doesn't mean anything. But overall, I'm seeing the Ichimoku cloud on 2 week is flipping from some support to resistance. On the weekly chart, you can also see a very interesting picture here too, where it's been broken down underneath the cloud. It's trying to break inside the cloud and break about, failed to do so, went back down, found support at the bottom of the cloud, try again, so we're failing, right? It is trying to find support here at the kitchen line over here, and it might find support and bounce a little bit higher, but I feel that overall, even though it had like a false breakout above the cloud, I think overall oil, based on Ichimoku cloud analysis, based on the whole idea about support turning to resistance, which is bearish price action, all of this is going to be a little bit more bearish, right? But can oil bounce up over the next week? Possibly, because it's finding some support over here. But it looks like the greater trend, if it ends up bouncing, it might be temporary. The US dollar. US dollar, I'm going to do it a little bit more systematic way. Let's put up the monthly here with the 20-month moving average and the Bollinger Band. You see a very, very interesting thing that's happening. Bollinger Band squeezing with the 20-month moving average pointing down. Trend change. Bollinger Band squeezing, suggesting a big move is going to come. I wonder which way it's going to go. Is it going to go up or is it going to go down? With the 20-month moving average pointing downwards, it's probably not going to serve as very good support, is it? I suspect that it's probably going to go down, is my guess. Now, is it going to plummet down like that, or is it just going to go down like this? I don't know. I'm just a cat. I'm just showing you what I'm seeing. One other thing here to look at is the Ichimoku cloud. If you put up the Ichimoku cloud, the US dollar still doesn't look too bad. It did have a bearish cross over here though. The Kijun is rising above the Tenkan. The Tenkan is starting to become flatter and flatter and might go down over time. The Kijun is going up and is serving as resistance, and so far for the month of May it got rejected by the Kijun on the monthly. Can it find support here at the Tenkan and just bounce around to the cloud and maybe it breaks inside the cloud and go down? Possible. Over here I really thought that this is like a toppy candle. This looks like a hangman candle over here, which sometimes can signify a top. Didn't end up doing that, obviously. I was wrong. They just kept on going up temporarily. But what I do feel strongly about is I think that this trend is exhausting and it looks like it wants to roll over at some point, is what I'm seeing. If you look at the other time frames, you look at the 2 week, I think it's pretty clear in terms of what it's doing. Unlocking the 2 week actually shows me a lot of really cool things actually. You can see that price broke inside the cloud, bounced on top of the cloud, bounced at the bottom of the cloud, trying to find support, trying to break out above the cloud again. So far it's getting a little bit of a tweezer top right here, right? It's yeah, this tweezer top right here, I suspect is probably going to at least go back to the bottom of the cloud and not breaking through underneath, right? So far it's looking pretty weak. If you look at the weekly though, we are at support. It did break back above the cloud temporarily, and it did test the bottom of the cloud, the top of the cloud here as support. So for short term, you might actually end up having a bounce. If it breaks into the cloud again, or it breaks underneath the cloud for good, you might be looking at some pretty bullish price action for equities and cryptocurrencies. I am going to talk about a couple other things, including the 2-year yield and the 10-year yield, and I'm probably going to end up calling it a day here in terms of this video. 2-year yield, monthly chart, right? Bollinger Band. What is it doing? Squeezing. Which direction is going to go after it's done squeezing? I don't know, but it's turning from uptrend to flattening. There's a potential when you have like a rolling over kind of look to it, and the yield does have a rolling over kind of look to it. there's a potential that it's going to go down. It could go down pretty powerfully because it's like a sphincter about to squeeze and about to push things out to one direction or another. And when you have something like this, we just go up for a very long time. All of a sudden, you have a squeeze over here with a flattening line. The probability is going to be down, is my guess, right? The Ichimoku cloud, actually, it doesn't look too weak. Unfortunately, it's still finding support here at the Tenkan, but it's looking like it's getting weaker and weaker, right? Trying to break underneath the Tenkan, unable to do so. Broke below the Tenkan, found, ways will break back above in the month of April, but now immediately back testing it. Do I think it's going to shoot up based on the way it looks? Probably not, because the Tenkan looks like it's rolling over, right? It looks like it wants to go down to the cloud. 10-year, same thing. It's the same exact look here, the Ichimoku cloud, and it's also the same exact look over here with the Bollinger Band. Like, it's the same thing. There's no difference between 10-year and 2-year. On the Ichimoku cloud on the weekly, though, I'm going to go back to 2-year over here. And I'm going to do the Ichimoku cloud on the weekly. Let me pull this up here. It gives you a lot more clear picture in terms of what it's trying to do. It's been going up parabolically and it's been getting exhausted trying to backtest the cloud, and it looks like it's having a little bit of a dead Cantonese bounce here. Right now it's kind of finding support here temporarily, but I'm not sure whether or not the support's going to hold, because it's been kind of knocking on the door of the Ichimoku cloud below for a very long time now. 10-year yield, same thing, right? Touch, and touch again. So far it looks like it's trying to find support over here, and you might end up bouncing up temporarily, but this is still very much an exhausted trend trying to break underneath. Even the Ichimoku cloud looks like it's going to roll over. So those are yields. And one last thing, and I'm going to summarize it all. I just want to talk about Bitcoin real quick. Bitcoin, monthly, going to pull up the Black Cat fund flow over here, bullish. It's still a lot of inflow coming in, regardless of the fact that it's been pretty serious price action over here for a lot of people. It still looks bullish, right? In terms of whale fund flow. What it's really doing right now, let me just take up all these indicators away. What it's really doing right now, a lot of people is getting scared, like, oh no, this is a triple top or double top, whatever you call it. It always looks like a double top before it breaks out. If you are going to short a double top, the double top doesn't get confirmed until it breaks down like 16,000. As far as I'm concerned, it's breaking out from the previous high and it's back testing it. And back testing this range over here, back testing some of the wicks over here and the handle tops over here. That's kind of what it looks like it's doing. If you look at the Ichimoku cloud, the price did get a little bit too far above the Tenkan. Can it go down a little bit further? Sure. But again, just like I was showing you on the indexes, right? If you look at the Super Ichi, you already have tested the Tenkan twice. It's holding. And the Super Ichi cloud Tenkan generally serves as a pretty good support during the entire bull market. And right now, we have hit the Super Ichi Tenkan. Does it have to go all the way down further to like 52,000? Maybe, maybe not. But if we do, that's pretty strong support down there too, right? I mean, you're talking about the Tenkan, you're also talking about, maybe potentially like 49,000. Do I think it's going to draw all the way down to 49,000? Possible, anything's possible. I don't think it has to. I just kind of showed you in terms of what I was thinking with the Super Ichi, in terms of what the indexes have been doing. There's a possibility where, this could be it and we go higher. I also don't want to miss that as a possibility and try to sell it and try to buy lower and go up higher and miss the bull, because I think this is a very, very strong bull trend. Is kind of back testing a lot of support that needs to go before going up higher. So this is actually not something that I really get scared about. And if you look at the price action too, in terms of what it's doing using the Bollinger Band, it's very, very clear in terms of what it's doing. It just went way too far, way too fast for a couple months. It just needed to cool down back inside the Bollinger Band, and it's doing that right now. 20-month moving average is also started pointing out a few months ago. This bull trend might have just been started not long ago, I think that's I don't want to miss the boat, I guess. Could I end up being wrong and could price end up dropping all the way down? Possible, but so far the trend is not suggesting that. I'm also going to put out the bull run support band here on the monthly here, and you can see that we're right at the bull run support band with this wick over here. So there's a lot of confluence in terms of this level over here, and I've also recently just shown you the 2-day Ichimoku cloud, which I thought was just absolutely fascinating. If I just put the 2-day over here, you can see, and if I take out the noise of the conversion line, the baseline, Tenkan and Kijun, you can see how the 2-day cloud has been served as very, very good support and resistance for a very long time during bull market, during bear market, during bull market previously too, right? You can see that it's been serving as pretty good support and resistance. And right now we're just basically kind of testing the 2-day cloud as support. It looks like it's bouncing pretty strongly. Can it end up breaking down below the cloud like it did over here? There's always that possibility, right? If it does, I still expect it to probably end up going up higher because overall on higher time frame is making higher lows and higher highs, and this is still a pretty decent bull trend. So I'm not really that worried about Bitcoin going back to the monthly Ichimoku cloud. Like I do think that this whole setup here is pretty favorable still. And I'm okay with price going back down. I'm okay with miners going back down a lot more with it. But I still think that we might still getting set up here for the next big move that is yet to come. And I am aware that there are some risk levels down here, including 52K, 49K, or even at the top of the cloud over here, like 42K. All of this is possible. Do I think it's going to happen? Probably not. Probably not. Anyway, to summarize, with Bitcoin looking so great, with SPY looking so great, again I'm going to put up the Subichi cloud over here, with SPY bouncing the Tenkan, with QQQ bouncing from the Tenkan, with IWM bouncing from the Tenkan, with ARK Fund getting back above the Tenkan, with Bitcoin bouncing from the Tenkan. All of these are very favorable, right? And you also look at the other stuff, like with VIX actually just keep looking weaker and weaker, with oil looking weaker and weaker. Like oil got rejected from the Tenkan, right? US dollar initially bounced, had a bearish cross over here, and now is below the Tenkan again, right? Yields is still above the Tenkan, but it's looking exhausted, right? I don't know, guys. I mean, this set up to be a pretty decent setup for the bulls. I don't know anything though, so don't listen to me. Anyway, have a good one, guys. I'm gonna try and do a live stream later in less than an hour. Maybe before I do that, I might take a shower. Take care.